Welcome back again. Well, welcome back again, guys, to Journal Entries. I hope you're okay. I hope you're having a good week, and I hope all is well with you. In case you've never been here before, my name is Kasim. There's three things that I want to talk to you about this week that I've been journaling on that I hope in some way can add some value to the quality of your life and in some way can help you to become a higher, fuller expression of who you're capable of becoming. Number one is I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the 9 leading causes of depression, and I want to talk a little bit about that because I've made some notes on that. The second thing that I want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about there is the benefit of giving things up temporarily so that you can understand your relationship with them. And the third thing that I want to talk to you about is about understanding that to what makes a great relationship, what makes a great marriage, is less about trying to find somebody and more about trying to find the perfect person and more about creating a beautiful life and creating the kind of life that you want. So that's the three things that I want to talk to you about. In case you don't know why I do these journal entries, guys, the reason why I do journal entries is because I live under the philosophy that, look, the reality is most of us are never going to be, most of us, okay? There is, of course, going to be exceptions, but the most of us are not going to be billionaires and millionaires, and most of us are not going to reach levels of and echelons of life where we're in positions of power, such as political ministers, or we're CEOs, or we're people in high positions of power, right? We're not going to reach those echelons. Most of us are not going to have millions and millions of pounds or multiple properties to hand down to our children. But every single one of us does have lessons, principles. We have ideas and ideologies that we've learned, and we have beliefs that we've learned, and we've noticed patterns, and we've developed habits along our lives that if we can take and consolidate and refine, that we can then pass on to the next generation. And I believe that that is more powerful than actually giving our children loads of things. I remember there was a quote once which said that it's not what you leave to your children, it's what you leave in them. And that's really my philosophy about ghost journal entries. So I hope that by me sharing with you my journal entries, it encourages you to write down what you believe, what you stand for, right? Pass it on to your children, onto your neighbor's children, onto your brother's kids, right? One day you may become an uncle, you may become a grandparent, whatever it may be. Consolidate your ideas and your philosophies and principles so that you can pass it on to them so that they can take their life to a whole different level. Okay, right. So let's get into today. The three things, let's begin firstly by talking about this concept of depression. So I wrote down some notes here and I'm going to try and smash through them as many of them as I can. So the first thing that I wrote down is that there are 9 leading causes of depression, and 2 of them are biological and the other 7 are social. And I thought that that was really important because many of us live under the illusion that a lot of what causes us to go down that path where we end up depressed, where we end up suicidal, that a lot of it's to do with our genes. And it is. There is, of course, a certain percentage of it that is to do with our genes, but it's only 2 that are biological, meaning you cannot do anything about it. Meaning it's to do with the serotonin, a lack of serotonin in your brain chemistry, right? We know that some people do indeed have biological genes and dispositions and characteristic traits that indeed make them more, what's the word? More, have a more leaning towards being able to get depression or become depressed in their life. The second thing that I wrote down here is depression is measured on what is called the Hamilton scale. Okay, so the Hamilton scale goes all the way from 1 to 51, and essentially depending on the different things that you do in your life, which of course help improve the quality of your life. Right, what will happen is you will get either more points or less points. So for example, and this is what I really want to get across to you, if you improve your sleeping pattern, on average, you will gain about 6 points on that scale. Meaning, of course, the more points you have, the more healthier you are, the more vitality you have, the more joy you have in your life, the more momentum you'll be able to create in your life, right? But here is where it gets interesting, and this is what I really want you to get. On average, antidepressants will only move you on that scale about 1.8 points. Okay, so most of us think that, antidepressants are going to be the answer. If I'm depressed, give me antidepressants. But the reality of it is that antidepressants actually don't equate and don't improve the quality of your life. And I'm sure you've now, listen, let me go back and put that in parentheses. Of course, antidepressants have a place and they do relieve pain. But the way you have to think about antidepressants is that you have to think about them as like a plaster. Right? When you have antidepressants, they're simply just covering up the wound, but you've got to do the work. And what I want to try and really articulate to you, and is something that I've really had to think about myself, is that if you take antidepressants, which will help you manage the two biological aspects and causes of depression, but you leave out the other seven, what will end up happening is that you will continue to become depressed over and over and over and over and over again. Right? And the question that I want to pose to you is, are you focusing, when it comes to your health and vitality and joy and your emotional state, are you spending the majority of your life focusing on trying to find on the things that you cannot change, or on the things that you can change? Are you focusing on your health? Are you focusing on doing work that is meaningful to you? Are you focusing on surrounding yourself with positive people? Are you working out healthily, regularly? Are you eating regularly? It's no surprise, guys, every single time you go to your GP because there's something wrong with you, what are one of the first things they ask you? What's your sleeping been like recently? Are you on any medication? And have you been exercising and eating healthily? The reason is because those are foundational. They're foundational principles that if you cannot apply in your life, everything else falls. It's like trying to build the Eiffel Tower on the foundations of something like a one-bedroom house. It just doesn't work, right? You need bigger foundations. And so what I would share with you, and it may be something that you want to think about, if you do find that you do have a disposition to go to those dark sides of yourself where you do feel depressed, where you linger and tend to divulge into those dark aspects of suicidal thoughts, of suicidal ideation, of feeling really depressed, of having no meaning in your life, of apathy, right, of indifference, then I ask you to really ask yourself if you are focusing on those things which you can control, right? What else did I write here? I wrote down here that one of the answers to depression is to go back to what caused it in the first place. It's interesting, right? That's what the guy was saying as I was listening to his speech. He said, you really have to focus on what caused your depression. And I think a lot of us don't really focus on what caused our depression. A lot of us get the antidepressants, which is the plaster, but we forget, yes, in order to heal, you have to do the work. And I ask you to ask yourself if you've done the work. Are you doing the work of forgiving your parents? You know, I say to people all the time, and it's something, there is a book that I'm writing called Kidulthood to Adulthood, which is a book about how you basically become a man, right? And what it means to be a man today. And one of the things that I talk about in that book is that in order to truly become a man and to live your best life and to achieve greatness, at some point you're going to have to forgive your parents. Right? And it's very, very difficult because a lot of the pain that adults are experiencing, that pain is coming from the burden that they're carrying of the expectations that their parents had of them. You know, I say to people, and I wrote it in my book, I said that we all have two dreams in life. The first dream that we have is our own dream. The first dream we have is our parents' dream, right? Before we're even born, our parents want us to become successful. They want us to do well in life. They want us to go traveling. They want us to be into football, whatever it may be for your parents. The second dream that we have is our own dreams. And what ends up happening is that as you're supposed to get older, you're supposed to cut the cord of your parents' dreams and marry your own dreams and embrace your destiny, right? And not be at the mercy and the fate of your parents. And you tend to find that a lot of people who are tethering on and lingering in those darker emotions are not really in control and in charge of their life. They don't feel like they're in the driving seat of their life. They don't feel that their life has meaning, that their life has purpose. They feel as though their life has been fated for them instead of them creating and designing their life. And what I would encourage you to do is that you may have to do that work of forgiving your parents, right? It's an easy place to start. And that may be forgiving yourself for allowing your parents to allow you to be in this position, right? And so it's just something that I just thought I would share with you. And I just thought maybe you might want to look at that and ask yourself, have you been doing the work? Have you been focusing on the 7 things? And look, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm just saying to you, you will, if you do the research, and this will be part of your work, because they're different, some things are different for all of us. As you do that work, is going to help you start doing the work on yourself. It's going to really help you start improving your attitude, your philosophy, and refining your philosophy, working on having control, working on designing your life, on creating a vision for your life. I truly believe that if you start doing that work and really focusing on the things that you can control, you can honestly live the most remarkable life. The most remarkable life. And I just feel like a lot of people don't embrace what they can control and instead focus on the things that they can't control and are waiting for a savior. I say save yourself, right? Every single one of us has to come to the realization that no one is coming. No one is going to be the savior. And if they were going to come, then they probably would have been here by now, right? So that's what I wanted to share with you in that first point, and I hope it gives you something to think about. So the second thing that I wanted to share with you is that there is a benefit in giving things up temporarily so that you can understand our relationship, or you can understand the relationship that you have with them. I feel like a lot of people, once we begin going down a certain path, we don't want to turn around. We don't want to be seen to be beginning again. And in fact, it's one of the things that stops a lot of people from becoming successful. A lot of people don't want to be seen as being beginners. They don't want to be seen as starting all over again. And I feel like, and I think this is part of the reason why humility is one of the first traits and one of the first virtues that you have to exhibit before you can truly gain some momentum, before you can really make some headway, before you can really get onto the path of success. Because until you have humility, you cannot let go of what no longer works. And at some point, that is what you have to do. In order to embrace your destiny, in order to go down the path that is right for you today, not what was right for you 20 years ago or 5 years ago, in order for you to embrace that path today, you may have to step away from the path that you've walked on. You may have spent the last 20 years feeling suicidal, feeling unhappy about yourself, hating your job, not ever having energy or vitality or vigor in your life. And you've got to the point where you've said, do you know what, I'm sick of this shit. Right? I want to live a life with energy, with vibrancy. I want to be vibrating on a high frequency. I want to feel energetic. I want to feel powerful. Any given day, you could make that choice. Any given day. Human beings, we can change at any point. On any given day, if you want to change your life, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as just making the decision. Now, like Jim Rohn once said, you may not be able to change your destination tomorrow, but you can change direction. You can get onto that path which is going to take you to that brighter future, right? To that vision, to that joy, to that success that you were seeking. But part of it is, I think, is that you have to step away sometimes and take a backseat. Right? Sometimes you have to stop driving and rest at a petrol station so that you can just see God. Sometimes when you're driving somewhere and you stop at the petrol station and you realize, God, my foot hurts, or my legs have been like they've been in a really awkward position and I hadn't realized. And I feel like that's what some of us have to do in moments in our lives. Not all the time, but at certain periods in our lives. We just have to take a pause back. And I think this is where reflection comes in, where you reflect and you say, okay, is this what I want now? Am I heading in the right direction? Like, have things changed for me? I know that I didn't like, I remember there was a point in my life where I decided that in order for me to get to where I want to get to, I'm going to have to start reading. Now, I was never a good reader and I hated reading all when I was growing up, throughout my adolescence and formal education. But I got to the point in my life where I was like, do you know what? I actually want to learn. I want to understand does the world work. I want to understand other people's experiences. I want to get knowledge. I want to get strategies. I want to get philosophies. I want to get ideas. I want to improve my life, and therefore I need information, right? I need to know stuff. And when I got to that point, I had to let go of what no longer worked so that I can embrace what I can become, right? As in my book, I said something on the lines of that potential is once you've done something, it is no longer your potential. Many people forget to realize that what is in front of you, your potential in front of you, is much greater than what you've achieved. What I found is that a lot of us in life, what we tend to do is we tend to give more emphasis on what we have done and forget and lessen the scales on what we could become. But what we can become is so magnificent, is so large, it is so enormous that a lot of us forget that. And I would encourage you to really think about that. Are you embracing what you can be, what you could be, and that incredible future that's in front of you if you embrace it? Or are you lingering and trying to celebrate and hold on to the past, right? There's a saying that goes something on the lines of, you cannot hold on to your past and also embrace your destiny. You have to let go of what was behind you so that you can put both of your hands to what is in front of you. And I just thought, maybe you've been smoking weed for a long time. Maybe you have been on pills for a long time. You've been taking antidepressants. Maybe you have been in a situation where you've been in a relationship. You've always been in a relationship all your entire life. What about if you try going 3 months without it? Maybe you've been on social media, you've been on Instagram, TikTok, you've been on WhatsApp, you've been on all of these different apps for basically the last decade. What about if you go the next 6 months and try to see what would happen in your life if you went without them? Because, sometimes we don't know that we have other choices until we open our mind and actually begin to see what's going to happen, right? What if sometimes you may end up going so far and deep into the woods that sometimes you don't even realize, oh my God, I'm going in the wrong direction. I'm getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into this. Isn't this what happens to people who end up in abusive relationships? It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a period of time where they just, little by little, they just step off, they let things go, they allow themselves to not hold their boundaries, and little by little they end up, in darkness one day. But I encourage you to step back. Who gives a shit if you're seen to be starting all over again? Who gives a crap if you go in a different direction to what you've been? It's your life, therefore live it the way that you want to live it, not the way that people think that you should live it. Remember that most of the people in life who are going to tell you that you can't do it, that it's impossible, that it can't be achieved, are going to be the people who are closest to you. I've spent the last 7 years of my life reading an autobiography every single week. Right? An autobiography is where somebody writes a book about themselves and they've achieved success and they say, this is how I did it. And almost in every situation, when people talk about, oh, this is who didn't support me, this is who didn't believe in me, it's almost always their family. Now, there is, of course, rare exceptions where their family love them, their family support them, absolutely. But in the great majority of people, the people who don't believe you the most are the people who you love. You've maybe been a mother and you've decided that you want to start a business. You've maybe never thought about having kids, but now you've decided you want to have kids. You've maybe been working 80, 90 hours every single week, but now you've decided actually you're going to change your lifestyle and spend a bit more time with your friends, right? Any given day, you could make that choice if that is something which is important to you. What I tell you is, sometimes it's important to just step back. When was the last time, if you constantly have been working every single week for the last 14 years of your life, what about if you took off 2 months, See what happens if you just stopped working for 2 months. What will it do to your mental health? What will it do for the amount of time that you have? What will it do to maybe think about and reflect on what is important where you are? It's just something that I was thinking about, and I thought, that's very, very, very interesting. What about stopping coffee? How do you know that you're addicted to coffee unless one day you stop it? I don't know. Just think about it. It's just something that I thought. Or if you've constantly been driving everywhere for the last 10 years, what about if you sell your car for the next year and then be on a bike? And then, of course, if you want to, just buy the car up again in a year's time. But it would be interesting to go through that experiment, to have that control back in your life where you're like, actually, I'm the one who's deciding. I'm not letting momentum take me anywhere it wants to take me. I'm the one who's deciding where we're gonna go, how far we're gonna go, how much of this we're gonna do. It'd be interesting for you to get back that control. So that's the second thing. The third and last thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about is that the great marriages are not based on finding, and great relationships are not based on finding someone, but rather they're based on creating a beautiful life, right? That together you're becoming who you two want to become. I feel like, and I think in today's generation, there is a lot of people who believe in the one. And there's nothing wrong with the one. And there's a lot of people who believe that one person is supposed to be their all. They're supposed to be their best friend, their lover, the father of their children, the mother of their children. They're supposed to be their confidant. They're supposed to be their support system. Look, the reality, guys, is one person cannot do that. It's so funny how we expect other people to be perfect, yet we've got flaws ourselves. How does that work? So we all know that no one's perfect, yet we believe that there should be this one person who is supposed to fulfill our desires, our needs. And I think one of the things that's important to understand is that we do have both biological and psychological needs, right? I think you have to realize that, because once you realize that you have both biological and psychological needs, you begin to realize, Jesus, this person cannot fulfill all of them. This person can't be my doctor. They can't be the one who tells me they love me all the time. They can't be the one who affirms me. They can't be the one who feels my need to be accepted, my need to belong. That they can't do everything and fulfill every need in my life. Therefore, I need a support system, right? I need a variety of different people in my life. And I feel like when you understand that, it really helps with your life, because you then put yourself in a position where you are no longer looking for people who are perfect, but you're looking for people who want to go where you want to go. In other words, it is more about, okay, let's find somebody where we can build something together. Now, I get it. Look, I'm not naive and I'm not stupid. Clearly, you shouldn't choose somebody who doesn't want to go where you want to go, who's broke, who has no plans. And part of the risk that you're going to have to take, because I guess there's two ways to look at it. You can either choose somebody who's already made, who's already successful, who already wants kids, who's already ready for marriage. You could go down that route. Or, alternatively, you can find somebody who wants to go the way that you want to go, and then you two build the life. But that is a greater risk, right? It's a greater risk. But I have found, and it's something that I was really thinking about in my own life, that it is far better for you to create a life together. It solves so many issues down the road. Like, I was thinking, let's say you decide that you want to have kids at some point, and you decide to focus on your career, and you date people all throughout your 20s, and you get to 30 and you now want to find a partner. The issue that you've got with this is that pretty much if you want to have kids, you've got like, what, a 5-year window of trying to conceive, find that person, get married, know about their family, know what their temperament is like. Like, it's a very short window to know somebody. Whereas if you meet somebody who you intend to build a life with, and you guys are aiming with the same vision ahead of yourselves, and you want to go in the same way, you then can know a little bit about them. You can see over time, what are they like. There was something that really frustrated me when I first started studying relationships, particularly people who had been together a long time, which is that I'd hear them say, "This is my best friend." Because I was like, well, that's the most ridiculous thing. Why are you talking about your husband or your wife being your best friend? And I didn't understand why people talk about this. And what I began to realize is when you spend enough time around somebody, you just like them. You want to tell them stuff, you're interested in them, you want to support them. But if you're in it simply because of what they offer you in terms of material goods instead of in terms of getting what you want right now, then it means you never invest in that person. And you can't reap what you've never invested in. You can't harvest what you've never sown. Does that kind of make sense what I mean by that? And so I was just thinking, like in your own life, it's just something you might want to think about. You might want to reflect on when you're looking for somebody in your own life, are you looking for somebody who you're building a life with? But even in terms of like friendships, are you looking for people to just fill a hole right now, you hang around, you go out with them tonight, or are you looking for long-term relationships? And look, part of this is you have to think long term. You have to really look and you have to really like do the hard work. Like you have to ask questions, you have to invest time. Like this stuff is not easy, right? It isn't easy to create a support system around yourself. It isn't easy to create a great relationship and a great marriage. It takes time, it takes effort. And I just feel like a lot of us today, we're living in an age, including myself, where we don't want to invest. We don't want to think long term. Everything is all about instant gratification. It's all about now. It's all about today. But I encourage you to walk away from that crowd because my experience has shown me that that crowd doesn't work. It doesn't long-term work. It works short, momentarily and in the short run. But in the long run, my experience has shown me that it doesn't work. But you know what it is. It's your life. Ultimately, as I've always said, you do you and you do whatever you want to do. But that's been my experience and that's been the recommendation that I would share with you to really reflect on that. Really look at, are you, the people who you have around you, are they around you because of where you're going and where they would like to go and the vision that you have for your life, for your community, for your family, for yourself? Or are you with them because they're just there, right? Bishop T.D. Jakes talked about building a team for the tasks. If you're trying to have a baby, your best friend might not be the best person. You need midwives, right? You need doctors. I wonder that if you're trying to build this incredible life full of success, full of joy, full of fulfillment, full of connection, I wonder if you are building a life that is going to be able to support all of that, or whether you're just trying to microwave everything. Just something for you to think about. So that's it. Those are the 3 things that I wanted to share with you. I hope they've been useful. I hope they've added some value to the quality of your life. What have you been journaling on? I'd love to hear your comments below. This week, what have you reflected on? Any principles, any goals, any philosophies that you've developed? I'd love to hear from you. Write them below. But otherwise, thank you very much for listening, guys, and I will see you in a week's time. Bye for now.